I'm Stephen Wells, the host of the Reborn Motoring Weekly podcast, focusing primarily on the Australian historic road and racing community. On Sunday, I attended this year's Club Maserati Australia Concours that was held at the Riviera Sydney Super Yacht Marina, which is located on Rozelle Bay near the Anzac Bridge. I have a 1989 Maserati Carif, of which only 221 were ever built. It is effectively a Series 1 biturbo Spider, built as a full coupe by Zagato. This enabled Maserati to drop in their 2.8-litre V6, as opposed to the 2 or 2.5 litres in the open car, providing more power and much better performance. And I'm also a past president of the club, so it's always great to support them with the other enthusiastic owners in Sydney. This year the event was held in drizzly and cool weather with a big turnout of cars and members, and the event was sponsored by McCall's Maserati. And they're the main dealer here in Sydney with 2 showrooms and a full service centre. The concourse was run in the morning with judges scouring the cars whilst the members caught up socially, and I was able to get some interviews done, mostly outside, so with the weather and other noise, the quality isn't perfect, however it gives you a feel of the club and the event. Just prior to lunch, I sat down outside with Dennis and Josh from McCall's to talk about the new cars on display and the thriving restoration business they now run for any vehicle that needs work. But as so often happens, I had a technology failure that didn't fully record the whole interview, which is a pity as Josh was talking about the restoration work they now undertake, including creating new tools and using 3D printing where parts of tools are now unavailable. McCall's Classic train their teams on repairing and tuning older cars and have a number of ongoing projects, including a full restoration of a Toyota 2000 GT, of which only 351 were built. Dennis then described the new cars that McCall's had brought along, including several Levante and Grecale SUVs, a Gran Turismo Trofeo, a Ghibli 334, which is the final edition with the V8, and an MC20. These complemented the older Sebrings, Ghiblis, Kyalamis, our Mistral and Quattraport, as well as the 80s and 90s cars. After lunch and the award presentations, I had a chance to sit down with David Stewart Watt, the current club president, to talk about the event and the club in general. The wind had picked up by then, however, here's the interview. So I'm here with David Stewart Watt, who is the president of Club Maserati Australia at the concourse. I'm down at the marina at Rozelle. David, it's been a great day. You've had quite a lot of cars here this year, many being local, but also you've managed to get a lot of the historics out and the newer cars, and you've had McCall sponsor it with their new cars. How do you feel the day went?
It's probably been one of our best days for a very long time because, as you said, we had such a variety of vehicles, and the number of historics here is a bit of a record for a few years because we have been outside of Sydney with our venue. It's nice to have McCarroll's as a sponsor and supporting the club, and they turned up today with 6 cars that on display, including the brand new MC20 and Gran Turismo. So you can see with the members, there's over 60 members here today. We've only got 85 members, so it's almost the entire club is here today, so what a great event.
And it's been a thriving club for years. In fact, you've had the concourse virtually every year, including in the COVID years, because the timing of the COVID lockdowns meant that we could still run a concourse along the way. So I think you've got probably a record of the club with the most number of concourse. But it is fascinating to see the cars coming out every year, good turnout, good enthusiastic drivers talking about the cars that they own.
And the good thing is that they are interested in others' cars as well. So you'll see on the day members going around looking at other cars, talking to people, chatting about aspects of the vehicles. But also the Maserati Club, as you know, Stephen, is a couples club. So we see a lot of the partners are here today. We have a lot of female members in the club, and I think it stands us out among other clubs of the different marks. So having so many families here, we've had children here as well. I think it helps stand Maserati Club out.
And I think the events that the club puts on about once every month, and different types of venues, whether it's a lunch run somewhere or a dinner run or a midweek run, shows just how popular the runs are for people who've got these cars.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We were up at Lake Macquarie only a few weeks ago. We had the event booked out. We've got a Hunter Valley long weekend coming up, a three-day weekend. We'll probably have about 50 people going on the weekend. And we had a lunch, as you said, a midweek lunch in the Southern Highlands earlier this year, where 30 people turned up in the Southern Highlands for a midweek lunch at the Sutton Forest Inn. So, you know, it's a club that likes to get involved, and again, with couples, which is good.
Hugely active, and I think that's a testament to how the club has been operating, and the fact that you've managed to keep people so enthralled by the different types of events. It's not just a standard event once a month, but a lot of effort goes into designing runs and events for people on such a regular basis. I think that's why people enjoy them so much.
Yeah, look, I agree, Stephen. And look, the other important thing is that you would know as the past president that the club is built on the success of presidents and committees that have gone over the last 20, 30 years. And I think the club has gone from strength to strength. Some clubs wax and wane, but as you said, this club has been strong throughout. We've had strong leaders in the club, a lot of continuity on the committee, which is good. We'll just give an award to our secretary today, nearly 20 years involved in the club. That continuity really helps in the strength of the club, and also the friendship and camaraderie among the members and their partners. I think it's great.
And it is fascinating, getting here this morning, and the excitement of seeing people you haven't seen for a few months or even maybe a year. I bumped into a couple of guys I haven't seen for a couple of years who finally come to an event because they've either got a new car or they've got the time to do it. And it's meeting old friends along the way.
I absolutely agree. And you would have noticed the hugging and the kissing and the shaking hands. And there is a lot of Italian flair among the members, which is good, actually. And I think the thing is that it does become a club, not just of members, but of friends, as you said. And people like to catch up with people who haven't been for a while.
And it is, at the core of it, a social club, as you say. But then when you look at the cars and people end up talking about the cars and the wives are talking about anything but a car, I think that is the key to a successful club, isn't it?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And look, the other important thing is that we do have some technical leads and a lot of knowledge in the club. So there's a lot of sharing of knowledge and information, particularly about heritage cars, because there are issues in terms of keeping the cars on the road, finding parts. In fact, I was talking to one of our past presidents today who happens to have a lot of parts under his house. And I said to him, we should have a Maserati day to just go through the labyrinth under a house. And people like me could find a new air conditioning compressor for my car. And he said, I've got one of those, I'll sell it to you. So, we trade, we share information, we share knowledge, and we even help one another with parts.
So what's next for the club? You were saying you've got the weekend run in coming up very shortly. You've got the dinner towards the end of the year. Are you already thinking about next year's events?
Exactly, Stephen. It's important for club members, and a number of people have been saying to me they'd like to know what's happening at least a quarter ahead. We're very good as a club compared to others in that we have a calendar that is published at the beginning of the year with an indication of all the events for the year. Of course, we do supplement them and adapt them, but the core events are there. And I think members attend because they can plan and get it in their diary and they know what's going on. And if we need to adjust, we will adjust. And the weekends are very popular in the Maserati Club because we're a couples club. We had a weekend out to Bathurst Orange this year. I think there was nearly 30 people on the long weekend, and a long weekend as well. And they're the kind of things that really bring club members together.
Yeah. And we had a bit of a damp start this morning. It's turned out absolutely beautiful. What more can anybody want? Some classic cars, some pizza for lunch,
and
full
some
Italian
boats in
flair.
the background.
That's right.
$1 million
huge
boats. Yeah.
Thank you, David. It's been good to chat to you and catch up. Good luck for next year as well. I'm sure the club will keep growing as it is doing.
Well, thank you, Stephen. And you make sure you stay close to the club.
Will
as well.
do.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
As the event wound up, I sat down with Martin Rose, representing Riviera, to get his perspective on the event and why Riviera were happy to host the club this year. So I'm back here with Martin from Riviera at the Marina, who hosted the event today. How did you feel it went?
Yeah, very successfully. We've had similar functions here before, and the environment seems to lend itself very well to lining the cars up, and plenty of space to have a good look around and really appreciate what's here. But also a great backdrop, obviously, with some of the boats there. Great synergy between the products. And so, yeah, all in all, I thought it went tremendously well.
I thought it was great having the boats in the background as the backdrop, and then we've got the bridge as well over there in the distance, sort of old and newy. But the fact that you've got those beautiful yachts lined up is a great way to showcase both the products on the road and also on the water.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're quite spoilt with what we have here and where we get to work. So.
And is this something that you do on a regular basis? Do you have cars down here on a regular basis, or is this sort of a once in a year type of thing?
We have only done it once previously. I think based on the success of today and our previous function, it'll become more common. Mm-hmm. Last year's function was just amongst our own customers. Most of our customers are car enthusiasts as well. Okay. And that was tremendously well attended, and obviously I think today's been a great success.
So you find a synergy between guys who enjoy their classic or new cars and also the motorboats as well?
Most definitely, yeah. It's all about machinery and style and performance, so they're very similar.
So talking about the boats in the back, so what sort of styles have you got? Do you manufacture them yourself, or are they?
No, we're actually R Marina Sydney, so we're the local dealership for Riviera, who is a manufacturer. They're based on the Gold Coast, and they are the quintessential Australian success story in the marine industry.
Okay.
Been going over 40 years and globally renowned. We now export just over half our product and very highly respected around the world.
That's amazing, and that's something that I want with this podcast, is to talk about the Australian companies that are going abroad and exporting abroad, because so many times people see us as a bit of a backwater. They don't realise that we've got the skills and the equipment and the product that can be shipped overseas. I've had friends who've actually shipped hulls into the country to be fitted out, but it sounds like you're going the opposite direction.
Most definitely, yeah. There's nearly 1,000 employees at the factory now, and we've just had a display at the Cannes Boat Show in the south of France, do enormously well in the US and North America in general. So very much a global product.
And it is a great facility, coming in, being able to park safely here on a day that's been a little bit drizzly in the morning. Sometimes if you've got a classic car, you don't want to get them too dirty. So I think you got the best of everything today. And so thank you for supporting the club and for hosting today's event.
It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been wonderful to see everybody and all the beautiful cars, and hope we can do something similar in the future.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With judging duties over, I got the last interview with Todd Gilmore, the club's Concours director and chief judge. He shared his views on the event and also being an IC Judge Concours judge. I'm here with Todd. He was the chief judge for the day at the Maserati Concours down at the Riviera Marina. And we've just got one of the cars cruising off in the distance. How was it for you today?
I think it was really good. I love seeing the turnout of people, and I think it's really encouraging when you see owners of vehicles bring their kids and bring all the family down, and I think that's what makes it a really nice show where everyone actually then becomes really comfortable. And the name tags is another thing. We made sure we gave name tags out to people, so you haven't seen someone for a whole year or even 6 months, and it might be someone's wife or someone's some of the kids come along, and as long as you can walk up to them and go, "Hey Harry, I saw you last time, fantastic," and so then everyone gets involved, everyone starts talking, and that's why, I'm not sure the time now, but here we are, people are just leaving now because they're all talking to each other. So that's a sign of a successful show, I think, and that's club as well, isn't it? That's saying Maserati Club.
And also you had a big range of cars from the 60s through to the new cars that Macau's brought over to be on display. You must be quite happy that you had such a broad mix of cars.
Oh, absolutely. And I think those, like you mentioned, the 60s, 70s cars, and then the quality that they were turning out in. And I think we have had that many before. I think maybe 11, if you could include 60s and 70s. And when we've had them in the past, they haven't quite been, because they are that old, like it's just a fact of life that they're not they're not the best condition. I think actually my car's probably the worst. It's original, but it's probably the worst condition out of all of them, to be honest. But it just shows now how much effort everyone's putting those vehicles on a pedestal. That was the best of show on the day as well. And you think it's really hard to compete with some other cars maybe only from 20 years ago or 25 years ago, yet it was absolutely perfect, spectacular in every way, presented perfectly.
So we did. So the best of show was a 1970 Series 1 Ghibli that has been immaculately presented, as it always is. So he was a well-deserved winner. And then you had cars back from the mid-60s, and then, as I said, you had a lot of the Grand Sports, Gran Turismos, Quattroports. It's quite a mix, and you gave out a class award for each subgroup of the cars that Maserati have produced.
That's right. We gave out 7 classes, and then the 8th award is the Best of Show award, which usually means you've won your class and then you'll win something again. But that's not the worst thing, you know. You just get instead of getting 2 whiskey glasses, you get 4, so you can have some friends around. But yeah, I think the differentiation, like you said, they are so different. Like those 60s, 70s, Gandini designed, like they are the wedge shape. Like the car that won Best of Show was in competition with the Ferrari Daytona when it came out, and they were going hand for hand. And I actually think there's probably less of the Ghiblis made than the Ferrari Daytona, so it's probably a little bit rarer. And to see it, you can see it's got that era, that element. Again, V8, GT, sit back, drive from the top of France to the bottom of France. Like that's what it's for, isn't it? Like, and you're doing 180, 200 kilometres an hour in 1970 easily as well with superstar grace. You know, it's fantastic. They were the cars that were owned by the movie stars of the day.
So talking about the judging, you're a member of IC Jag, as I call it. Can you say what that is about and what the IC Jag means?
Yeah, so IC Jag is International Chief Judges Advisory Group. And so the ethos of IC Jag is preservation of vehicles for future generations. And we understand if they sit in museums, the cars rot, the rubbers perish, so it's not the way to do it. So we want cars to be driven. So I think this encourages everybody. And it goes to the point where if you've got 1 stone chip or 20 stone chips, we may only take half or 1 point off out of 100. So we're not punishing people for driving their cars. What we punish people on is when the maintenance hasn't been kept up. So if you've got a headlight out, or if you had something that wouldn't pass a registration check, that'll get more severe points off than stone chips or marks or scratches or anything like that. So.
And I was at the Old British Day a few weeks ago up at the Hawkesbury, and a number of the guys were there. I think you were there as well. Were you doing the judging for that as well?
Yeah, that's right. I did Jag. You were there and just helped out on preservation on a class like that. So this year, or the last 3 years, I've done preservation at Pebble Beach in America, and so then when they had preservation for Jaguar, I just ducked out and helped out there as well. And it's just it's pushing IC Jag, not pushing. It's explaining IC Jag that we're not so critical. We're not trying to find every little fault. We're looking at an overall car, and this is where the word elegance, everyone calls it, you're going to a Concours. But we probably really should emphasise that word elegance, because that's the fashion. That's what makes that spectacular car. That's the thing that people are going to be drawn to, attracted to, why they end up maybe liking Jaguars, because they love that XK220 or whatever it happens to be.
So you're doing that across a wide range of different clubs. So it sounds to me like you're actually taking that away from a club and giving them a bit of a structure in their judging, rather than having, maybe an inter-club working on it and getting into a bit of a scrap about who's best. By bringing it into a more standardized rigor, you're actually helping everybody in the historic road in community.
You definitely are, and I think that's that thing, taking it out of their hands. So, Bill doesn't like me, and that's why I didn't do very well. Like, you take it out of that, you make it simple. This is why it won, or this is why it maybe came second or third. Yeah, and it standardises everything. And the fact is that it's the same style judging that's done at Salon Privé, at Villa d'Este, at 21 Gun Salute. So all around the world, they're doing the same sheet, the same style, encouraging people the same way to get their cars out and drive them. And that's why we do those tours, encourage tours to get the people out. And as you said, then inter-club, everyone's getting that overall understanding. This comes from people who have a lot more experience than I do on how to do this. And so then, we don't have arguments. It makes it simple. You'll always be disappointed when you don't win. You can't help the disappointment. but also it's got to be fair. And if anyone ever saw anyone and didn't do something fair, that judge just wouldn't be invited back.
Yeah.
So we've got to be fair. We've got to keep it going.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Todd. It's been a great day at the Marina with all the Maseratis. Look forward to the next one.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
It was a great event. I didn't manage to snag any silverware this year. However, it was great to see cars from the 60s through every decade to the present, putting on a show for the annual club display. And that's all for this week. There'll be more next week. If you have a club or event that you would like highlighted, send an email to stephen@motoringweekly.com.au and I'll be in touch. And subscribe through your favourite podcast player to get the episodes delivered as they drop. And I'm Stephen Wells, and you've listened to Motoring Weekly, the podcast for the Australian historic road and racing community.